Welcome to Quilting on the Side, the podcast where we uncover the secrets to turning your passion for quilting into a profitable side hustle.
I'm Tori from the Quilt Patch by Tori.
And I'm Andi from True Blue Quilts. And together, we're your co-hosts on this exciting journey of creativity, entrepreneurship, and all things quilting.
We're here to help you navigate the world of quilt pattern design, course creation, digital marketing, and running an online quilt business. We've been through the ups and downs ourselves, so we know what it takes to make money from your favorite hobby.
That's right, Tori. We're going to share our experiences on how we've grown our businesses while balancing family with other paying work responsibilities. It's not always easy, but it's definitely possible. Welcome to another episode of Quilting on the Side. You are only hearing from Andi because Tori unfortunately is ill, but we are both so excited to hear from Mindy Lewis. She is the owner of the Cozy Craft Cottage in Mesa, Arizona, and I've just seen such fabulous things online about this place. Mindy, why don't you just dive right in and tell me about it?
We are the Cozy Craft Room. We are actually a craft room where people come and do all kinds of crazy crafts. I've got a ton of folks that come and do everything from diamond dot painting, knitting and crochet, scrapbooking, which is still super popular, card making, sewing, and a ton of folks coming to quilt. So we've got an avid group of devotees that are here during the week, and we have retreat weekends every month that they come to. And I'm finding more and more people who are having quilting birthday parties. I didn't know that was such a thing where they come and invite 20 or 25 of their friends to come hang out and quilt all day together. So it's been a whole lot of fun.
Oh my goodness, that does sound like you have all the bases covered.
Yeah.
Now, I want to know how this got started. What type of crafts did you do in your personal life before the Cozy Craft Room opened? Because that's what I have found is people take their hobby and passion and turn it into a business. So was that the case for you?
Yes, quite a bit. You know, you start back in high school where you start tinkering around with something, and it might be cross stitch, it might be embroidery. I got married, and my mother-in-law was an amazing seamstress and did all of her own clothes and her kids' clothes, and said, Christmas is coming. Do you have, something to put under the tree? I thought she meant like a present. And she meant a tree skirt. And I said, well, I just take an old sheet and wrap it around the tree. And she gasped and said, let's make a tree skirt. So she taught me my first quilt. We did a log cabin tree skirt. I use it to this day. It is unfortunately showing its age, but I love it. And it means a lot to me. It's very sentimental to me. And my college roommate loved it so much, I made another one so that she could have one. So that started the quilting way back in the day. Through the course of years, there were short periods of time where sewing took a backseat and then reared its head again later. I started making costumes for a group of people that like to reenact life in the Middle Ages, and sewing a ton of apparel, learning the difference between quilting and apparel, and then switched back into quilting. I enjoy it. It's therapeutic. There are crazy quilts where I don't have to read patterns and make measurements. I just do whatever I want to do. And I don't have a long arm, but I've recently started doing my own kind of free arm work on my machine. And I'm having a lot of fun playing with that too.
Oh, that's so awesome. And what about the paper crafts and the knitting and the crochet? Have you dabbled in all of those, or are you bringing in outside teachers?
I've dabbled in all of that. One year for Christmas, gave myself knitting lessons. And I thought that would be fun. I like yarn. So I learned to knit. And then 1 or 2 Christmases ago, I got a Woobles crochet kit because it looked really cute and made some little critters, amigurumi critters, very different than knitting. And I thought, they don't have anything to do with each other. But that was fun. And then the scrapbooking I've done since my kids were little. But I kind of covered all of the major milestone and events in scrapbooking. So switched to card making, which is scrapbooking in miniature form. And I can give away the things I make and I don't have to store them at my house. So cards are easier because they leave the house and I don't have to have, boxes and boxes full of that product left over. So my stash, like any good crafter, is embarrassingly large because it's got yarn in it. It's got needles and hooks. I've stayed away from paint. I've stayed away from pottery and ceramics, but that's about all I've stayed away from. Oh, I don't diamond dot myself, but that's all the other stuff I've loved and still do.
Very nice. Very nice. So tell us about the origins of the Cozy Craft Room. How did that just brick and mortar location come to be?
Let's go back to the pandemic when we all had to go home. And they said, oh, 2 weeks, you're going to go home for 2 weeks and then we'll all be back. Well, it didn't happen. We know that didn't happen. And all of us crafters who enjoy the social aspect of crafting were all of a sudden by ourselves and alone in our craft rooms, which is fine for a little while. We saw a lot of networking happening through the internet, online classes, people trying to reach out and doing things online together, virtual retreats. But when things got safe, when we started coming out of our houses and back out of our craft rooms, there was no place to go. The big box stores shut down their classrooms. Libraries and community centers really don't want you spilling glue and glitter all over their carpets. So it's not really, there's no place to go. I saw people meeting in restaurants where they were trying to do things together, but now you've got waiters and food and you're holding up the table and there was just no place. So this, I will tell you, as a woman of faith, there's a little bit of divine intervention here where I felt like I was being called to create a space where people could come together again. And when I really questioned why, what are we getting together to do? I felt like I was being told, do what you want to do, but get people together. And I thought, well, I'm a crafter. I can do that. So we've got a space here. You can see behind me a whole bunch of tables with lights and things. We've got a space where basically you come and you rent workspace and you bring whatever it is that you craft with and hang out with new people that you've never met or invite your friends because your house is too small to have 20 friends over to craft with. Your craft room is too small. You don't really want to have to pack up the kitchen table and clean your bathrooms just to have 3 people come over. When you can come here and all that's done, you've got cutting boards and ironing stations and cutting stations and places where you can put your sandwich together for your quilt and not have to take over the couch or the kitchen table because then you have to clear it off at the end of the day so your family can eat and it sits in the corner in a plastic bag and you don't see it again for weeks or months at a time. We're here, you can pull it out and work on it. And some people will come several days in a row as a retreat and actually start clicking off all those UFO projects, those unfinished object projects, and get them done and put into completion.
Oh, that's so awesome because you're right. It does fill a need. People want to spread out. Occasionally
Yeah.
we all make do with the space we have in our homes, but that is wonderful.
Well, I tease people, I ask how many pigs they have at their house, and they say, what? Projects in grocery sacks. How many projects in grocery sacks are you sitting in the corner of your craft room waiting for you to come visit and play again? Let's bring them into the store and let's work on them together.
Sure. And did you have a network of people that were ready to use the space, or how much,
A little bit. I had a small network of friends that like to scrapbook. That was the only network I had at the time. And I'd been renting houses out in Chandler and in Peoria, where I would rent a large house that had 5 or 6 bedrooms, invite a dozen people to come hang out for the weekend. We would charge just enough money to cover the rental of the house and stay for 3-4 days. And that was very popular. And I was selling out those spaces within, an hour or two of announcing that I had a weekend. And I thought, this is not big enough. This is only 12 people at a time, 3 or 4 times a year. I need a bigger space and I need it to be open during the week. And I'm discovering that during the week, there's a lot of women in my age demographic that are suddenly single. Didn't plan on being single in this, they're still young, they're still active, and they're alone and they're lonely. And their craft room has one person in it and it's them. So this is, again, a place where they can come hang out with more than just their cat or their dog or get out of their retired husband's way for a couple of hours and hang out with girlfriends and have that social part of crafting that we missed for so many years during the pandemic.
Yeah, that's definitely true. I love my sew days when I get together with my group of friends. So I can see that it definitely meets that need. And then as it's grown, I imagine that you're getting more and more people just come in and meet you and want to
Yep.
use this space for.
People find us on Google or they find us on Facebook and they're not sure what a craft room is. So they'll come and check it out. We're not a retail store. I don't sell paint and I don't sell craft supplies, but they'll come in and realize that we're all in here working on different things. And then I'm, again, getting groups of people where they say, I've got 2 or 3 girlfriends. Let's meet here. Let's work a couple hours, go have some lunch, maybe come back and work some more or just go home from there. So it started with that core group of scrapbookers. And over the past year and 4 or 5 months, it has really expanded and I'm tapped into that sewing, that quilting network of people. There's 3 stores within spitting distance of here.
Mhm.
And I don't sell fabric. I don't sell notions. I don't sell patterns. So I'm not really direct competitor for them, but they've got very small spaces. They can't have, 20 or 30 people come hang out and sew at the same time in their quilt stores. So I'm getting people that buy their supplies there and then come over here to spread out and use them.
Oh, that's a great partnership, especially for those local quilt shops,
Well,
that struggle sometimes, like you said, because they don't have the
they're big
space.
space. They have some space and they can offer some classes, and they do. But again, I don't have all of that stuff that they've got. And so I'm always sending people over to them to say, hey, go get your supplies from them. Go get your fabric, go get your notions, and then come here and work on it.
Right, right. Now, I have seen occasionally where you have a sell your stash day. Have those been well attended and popular?
Yes. I would say that many a crafter has a few extra supplies, maybe that they don't need anymore or don't want anymore if they've changed crafts. So we have a sell your stash twice a year where you rent tables and you bring your stash. It's basically a garage sale, but we'll have, 15 or 20 people in here selling their leftover extras. And in some cases, a lot of it's still in the package. They just never got around to using it. Their taste has changed. Their desire to use it has changed. And so you can find some really great deals and steals by coming in. And the funny part is I find out that we just all pretty much just swap stuff. So I may be getting rid of 10 things, but I just picked up a few other extra things on the side. But that's April and October of every year. And they have been well attended and they're a lot of fun. And I think we're ready to start having some for fabric destashing.
Mm.
Because that is huge. And I've got a large group of people that have a few extra bolts of fabric or a few extra yards that they're not needing anymore and would probably benefit from that same kind of activity.
Yeah, for sure. What a great resource. Like you said, having those kind of community garage sales tend to do a little better. It's a little easier to manage if there is more than one of you, which seems to be the theme of your whole business is let's get together and do this as a group. So what was the learning curve like for you? Did you have experience in retail or any of that business type of stuff in your
I am
background
flying
or
by the seat of my pants. My background is in technology. I'm an instructional designer by formal training and a software consultant, systems implementation and integration consultant. So that was my background. I had a little bit of experience as a treasurer for a local volunteer organization. But I said this was kind of divinely led. When this thought was put into my brain that I want you to do this, my response was, I don't know how to do this. And the answer came back, well, I do. So just do what I tell you to do.
Mm.
And it's a little, I don't know if scary is the word, but whenever I've needed something and I've said, I don't know how to do this part, I don't know what to do, in the door walks somebody who said, you wouldn't have a need for this, that, or the other, would you? I'm like, do I? Yes, I do. I needed an architect and literally randomly picked a list off of the City of Mesa website.
Mm.
And they did amazing work. They were wonderful to work with, but they have a weird name. And I said, I don't understand why 648 is an interesting name for an architectural firm. They said, it's a God thing. It's a Bible verse. And I'm like, really? Then I looked for a contractor and I got turned down by quite a few. And literally up to the door was a pickup truck that pulled up and Noah's Ark was painted on its door, Ark Designs. And he didn't really want to take the job, but his wife was kind of making him come and take a look at it. But when he saw what it was, he agreed and drove from Peoria every day an hour one way to come do all of our construction work. So it's been like that. I needed money for funding. I couldn't find a traditional bank that would loan me the money. Somebody called me from a bank and said, hey, there's this organization that funds weird businesses like this. Let me put you in touch. And I asked for a certain amount of money and they granted me twice that. So it's same thing with the space. The space you see, I found a little tiny space that I might be able to afford. And the company offered me twice the amount of space instead. So everything I've asked for has been granted in abundance at the right time to kind of lead me in that direction. I found an accountant that way. I have found instructors that way. Word of mouth is spreading and I'm finding the right people at the right time because they're being nudged and led to come here. So that's how it's growing.
oh, that's so awesome. Yeah, I love those kind of God instances, those stories of how things just align the way they're meant to.
When he wants my attention, he takes my job away to get my focus. And he did that. He took my job away and said, hey, I've got something for you to do. I'm like, okay. And he said, I'm going to keep you up at night. I'm going to give you visions and I'm going to make you pay attention to this. So I've had this happen to me once before in my life. So I knew better than to ignore it.
Yeah.
And I said, okay, I'm in, just show me what to do. And I'm happier now than I've been in decades. I'm having so much fun. I got married and moved to Phoenix, so I was kind of out of my element and didn't know anybody here. And I'm now surrounded by this amazing group of women with all kinds of backgrounds and all kinds of interests in crafting. I'm learning so much. I'm having so much fun. And every now and then someone will come up and just hug me and say, we needed this. We really, really needed this. Thank you for bringing it here.
Terrific. That's wonderful. What advice would you have for other folks in craft arenas that might want to somehow monetize, what make money from their craft, what different avenues, and what has been the best advice, I guess, that you've gotten that you can pass along?
There are still buyers out there who recognize quality product and are willing to spend money on a quality product. So don't think that everybody's looking for something cheap from Temu. There are people out there that know the difference in cheap fabric and nice fabric in good quality work. So keep working on your skills, keep working on your craft. Don't short sell yourself. Don't drop to a ridiculous, low price just because you think that's the only way people will buy it. That just tells them that it's not a quality product. So don't be afraid to put the right price on your items. You will find a buyer and the right buyer will find you. So that's pretty important. Be patient. The quilt that you love may not sell this season. It may sell next season. Mm-hmm. And I've seen that too, where someone says, I made this 2 years ago and it just sits. Or a vendor says, it took me 3 years to sell it, but I sold it for the price I wanted to sell it for because it was the right quality. Mm-hmm. So be patient, be kind to yourself, take breaks when you need to take break, work hard when you're ready to work hard, and enjoy the process. This is fun. That's why we started doing it. And when it's not fun, take a little vacation.
Great advice all the way around. Yeah, we've had a couple different pricing discussions on the podcast because Tori and I definitely are in the agreement with what you said about, that you need to set a price that reflects the quality of your work and not just go bargain basement. Well,
and it's not necessarily the time in your work, because you'll never get back the time. No one's going to pay you $20 an hour for the time it took you to make that quilt. But if you take that part out of the equation, certainly get back the money you made in materials because you bought high quality materials. But think about, what that item really is worth to someone. And in the quilting world, it will probably get handed down. So you're talking about, that's the quilt my mom got me when, I got married, or my godmother made me, when I was christened, and that lasts and needs to last. And those memories hold dear. So that's a part of this craft that I enjoy.
Yeah, it really is. And I love that your crafty, your quilting roots have blossomed and encompass so many other different crafts as well, because they all have that sense of community and that passing on of traditions, which is...
I'm getting crossover. I would say that I'm infecting some people and introducing them to the paper world and introducing some of the paper crafters to the fabric world, because there's some crossover. We're all using rotary cutters. We're all using rulers. We're all lining things up. We're all layering things. And people are seeing the similarities and saying, oh, I want to try that. I want to try that. But I need another hobby like a hole in my head. But they love it. They get into it. They buy a couple things. And that's been kind of fun. And you can even come take classes and try it and go, this is not for me. But that was worth the price of the class to know that, I have a crocheter that just doesn't like knitting, or a knitter that just doesn't like crocheting. Now I know, that's not for me, and I won't spend $100 or $200 or $300 on supplies for something I'm not going to like.
Right. Yeah, that's for sure. And if you are finishing things in this craft space, then yes, you have the time, the space to dabble a bit. So that just sounds wonderful. Now, before we get into our rapid fire questions, I do have to take a minute and let you hear from our sponsor, EQ8. Electric Quilt is a great company that has compiled tons of blocks, classic quilt blocks. You can design your own patterns on this software quick and easy. You can import fabric, whether you are using it to plan a quilt for personal use or starting to write patterns. I highly recommend EQ8. You can learn more in the description below. Okay, rapid fire. We ask all of our guests, Mindy, some of these questions, and the rapid fire doesn't mean that they have to be short answer. So feel free to editorialize as much as you'd like. But instead of a favorite color, what color do you shy away from and struggle to use in your projects?
Black. Black, because there's so many other crazy colors and fun colors to work with that black is like, is it fun? Is it pretty? I don't know.
Yeah, I will push back a little bit because I've seen some very striking designs with a black background. So if you've got the right color combination, black can make some things pop really, really nicely. But yeah, I go for brighter colors, so I won't give you too much trouble with that one. And when you are quilting, do you buy yardage or go for the pre-cut packages?
Oh, yardage. I got really frustrated with jelly rolls that have the pink edges. I would be covered in these little fibers and sneezing, and they would be in the air, and I'm like, oh, I don't like this. So I would rather just cut it myself.
Okay. And speaking of cutting, that falls in our notion category. What is your favorite notion?
Okay. I just got a seam ripper that's a shaver. It looks like, you know what I'm talking about? Mm-hmm. Because I was using scalpels, like surgical scalpels, loved that. But then when I saw the shaver, man, because every now and then I got to take out a seam, and that seam is right out.
Yeah, those do make quick work of that odious task. Yeah. So what is the most rewarding part of your business?
When someone looks at me and says, I got nothing done, but boy, did I need to be here. And I understand that. And maybe they didn't get anything done. Maybe they just sat here and enjoyed time and laughed and got to leave the stress of the outside world alone for a couple hours.
Yeah, that does. It definitely says that you have created a wonderful, safe, soothing, inspiring space. So speaking of inspiration, where or who is inspiring you right now? Where are you finding your inspiration?
Wow. Gosh, every project I see, one of my favorite things to do is sneak around all the tables, even after people have gone for the night, and look at how they're doing their storage, what fabrics they're picking, what patterns they're using. And I get these great ideas where I see something and think, I'd like to do that, but I would use a different color combo, or I really need that tool, or I like so I get to see all of these different configurations of what people are doing. So that for me is addictive, because then I have to go buy another tool or buy another pattern.
Right. I know. You go to a retreat and you come home with a longer list than you started with.
Every notion in my trick is because of that. And now I've got these the metal husky tool totes, with trying not to buy a second one.
Yep. Speaking of, I have to go off on a tangent because you mentioned those toolboxes, and someone called it the pink tax, because once products like that are traditionally male and a woman finds a use for it, the companies paint it pink and triple the price.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So we just need to stand up and use the gray,
the red
and the
black
blue that are readily available, and not pay that pink tax.
One of the girls here took diamond dots and covered hers in shiny diamond dots. It is the cutest thing you've ever seen.
Oh, fun. Yeah. Carolina Moore is a quilter over in California, and she has bedazzled a sewing machine, an Aliso iron, and so
I am amazed at how many people sticker up their machines. I didn't know that was a thing, but they get stickers from places they've been, shows they've been to, favorite designers, and their stickers all over their machines. It's adorable.
Yep. Now, I don't know how easy this last one will be for you to answer, but we see that you're in your classroom space. How many quilts are in the room with you?
Finished or started?
Well, however many you want to list.
There's at least a dozen started, and there's probably 5 or 6 on display.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Nice. And I'm not going to tell you how many are in the storage closet.
Well, no. We don't dig that deep for our
little project. It's a table runner, or it's placemats, or things like that. And I've got jelly rolls stacked because that's kind of our lead in for people who are wanting to experiment, but they're not sure they want to quilt. And I say, hey, girls, straight seams, you can do it. It's just straight seams. So I've got a bunch of jelly rolls that we use to get people who are curious interested and hooked.
Very, very nice. Two things. Where can people find you and what big events do you have coming up?
They can find us in Mesa. We are just a mile south of the 60 at Power and Baseline. We share a parking lot with Honey Baked Ham. So I tell people, if you know where the ham store is, you can find us. Well, we're really close to 60. We pull people in from AJ, from Florence, from Mesa, from Gilbert. People come down from Fountain Hills. I've got a couple girls that drive over from Peoria, get a hotel and make it a real retreat for the weekend. So that's kind of fun. We've upcoming, I can't even think of them off the top of my head. So I have a calendar that's on our website that we keep to date through the end of 2025. April will be our next de-stash, but it's going to be mostly probably paper products. Mm-hmm. So that'll be a big one. And almost every weekend for 2025 is going to have some kind of retreat. It could be a sewing retreat. It could be a UFO night. It could be a crafty weekend retreat. It might be a private birthday retreat. So as I look at that calendar, those weekends are filling up fast for 2025.
That's awesome. And does it stay steady throughout our hot summers or?
I find it's a little busier in the summer, and it shocks people because when our winter visitors come, they're not coming to sit in a room. They're coming to be outside. It's 70 degrees and sunny and gorgeous, and they're out playing golf and pickleball and wanting to be outside doing things with their friends. So I see, I think, a few more people in the summer when it's too hot to be outside and my air conditioning's on cold. So they can come to the store and be in air conditioning and hang out when it's too hot to be outside.
Nice. Yeah, I wondered about that because you're right. Our Arizona winters are definitely the outdoor season. So.
Well, I tell people, set your thermostat at 85 and come to my place where it's 75.
Yes. Honey, my quilting hobby will save us money. There's
yes.
a great,
yes. I love
great
that.
advertising.
I love that.
And your website is
cozycraftroom.com.
Perfect. All right. Well, we will send everyone over there. And I thank you so much for chatting with us.
Do we tell people how we know each other?
Yes.
Our mothers know each other. Our fathers served in the Air Force. Yay, go Air Force. And we were stationed together as little girls. So we knew each other way, way, way back and probably don't even remember that we knew each other. And funny thing, I eat food that your mother made that my mother got the recipe for because she loved it. So that's been in our family history. And I remember that vividly growing up.
Yeah.
In the city.
Every year you look through the stack of Christmas cards. So I've seen Mindy's name every year of my life because our parents, yes, were good friends. So I'm glad
that fun. I love that. I love it.
Even after all these years, we're able to get connected again. So,
and even ending up in the same city is so funny to have been stationed together so far away so long ago, and boom, here we are again.
We'll have to get all the girls together the next time your mom's in town. So
yes, I love it.
Yeah, that will be wonderful. Well, continued success in your business, Mindy, and thanks for chatting with us. What a great discussion. If you enjoyed this episode of Quilting on the Side, please leave us a review on whichever platform you're listening. It can be iTunes, Spotify, or even our YouTube channel.
And hit the subscribe button so you don't miss our next chat. Until then, remember to have fun in your business and do a little quilting on the side.